So today, I'm going to be trying to get the Platinum Trophy for Battlefield 6. According to PowerPix's website, Battlefield 6 has 43 trophies, a 5 out of 10 difficulty, and takes around 50 to 75 hours to beat. But I did it in 40 hours. Battlefield 6's trophy list is a combination of campaign and multiplayer trophies, and I decided to start with multiplayer because of one trophy called a Joyful Nurse, which requires you to revive 1,996 players while playing as the support class. But that would take a while to get, so let's jump into the other multiplayer trophies. All the multiplayer trophies are pretty basic and don't really require much explaining, so I apologize if I go through these rather quickly, but the first trophy I got is for getting 5 kills with an LMG without reloading. Next up is an easy one you'll get for just playing the game, and it's for killing 129 players. While going through all these trophies, I got 3 similar trophies for reaching rank 9, then rank 14, and finally rank 25. Then I hopped into a vehicle to hit someone with my car and flee the scene for a trophy. After that, I had to do a pretty boring trophy while capturing 128 objectives in Conquest. Now this trophy is one that gave me a hard time, and it's for performing 10 takedowns in a single multiplayer match, which doesn't sound that hard, but when you're in a lobby full of sweats, it's a nightmare. However, I started playing a game mode called Casual Breakthrough, which is a gift from God himself, because it fills like half the lobby with bots and makes this 10 times easier, and I got the trophy. Moving on, I got the next trophy for getting 5 multi-kills playing as the Assault class. This next trophy can be a little bit difficult depending on if your aim is decent. And it requires you to get 6 headshots with a sidearm, but this isn't Call of Duty where you can get headshots with 1 bullet, so if you're dog shit like me, just play Casual Breakthrough. There was then another game mode trophy for taking or defending 41 sectors in Breakthrough. At this point, I decided to hop into Battlefield Portal to get the trophy Super Bomb Man, because this one was near impossible to get online and would save me a giant headache. The next trophy is actually kind of fun. It requires you to deal 2,000 damage to an enemy vehicle, and I found this unsuspecting tank and went to town on his rear end and got the trophy. However, the next trophy would be the complete opposite, as I now had to repair a vehicle for 2,042 damage. I see what you did there.
Oh my god!
Next up was an easy but kinda grindy trophy for getting 250 sniper kills as the Recon class. So the second to last multiplayer trophy I got was for committing 414 acts of valor, such as getting multi-kills, taking objectives, and reviving players, which kinda just happened naturally for me, and a few hours in, I popped the trophy. To wrap up the multiplayer trophies and my suffering, I finally got 1,996 revives, which was such a relief, and popped that damn trophy. The campaign begins with a quick trophy to start it off for getting the dinosaur figurine.
Yeah.
But now it's time to get down to business. We start the campaign playing as Murphy, where we take a nice stroll down the road until BAM! We're suddenly under attack by the game's main enemies known as Pax Armata. We gear up and take the fight to Pax until we get bombed by a chopper, but don't worry, the plot armor is thick with this one.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
We transition into a vehicle where we get to do some cool turret shooting gameplay that's been in every Battlefield and Call of Duty since the dawn of time, until the Uber driver drops us in the forest, where I got another trophy for picking up the first dog tag collectible. In typical Battlefield fashion, we blow up some guys, shoot some guys, then I head into this building where I encountered my first glitch in this game. It's where I planted a bomb on the 2nd floor, and then a few seconds later it teleported me back to the 1st floor. So I go back up to the bomb, and it's telling me to plant it. So after a few checkpoint restarts, I reluctantly have to restart the whole mission. And while doing so, I throw a grenade and killed 3 people, which pops a trophy. So I eventually got back to where I was, and we made it up to the roof, where we had to hold out until evac, where we jump into this chopper, which gets shot down of course. The chopper crash injures our whole squad, but Murphy gives a moving speech meant to raise their spirits, but our whole team dies horrifically and brutally one by one, up until we're the last one remaining. But we don't get to die because that was just the opening sequence, and we get whisked away in a chopper. But on the bright side, our whole team died for a trophy. In this next cutscene, we infiltrate the CIA lady's home, and we interrogate her for a while, which then leads into the next mission, which is kind of like a flashback mission, because in these cutscenes, we're interrogating her after the fact, which is kind of how the whole story goes. I really hope that made sense. The next mission is called The Rock. and our objective is to take out all the island's defense weapons, so me and my guy are the support team, so we're basically just sniping guys the whole time until we go down into some dark spooky tunnels, where I got another trophy for getting 5 collectibles. But that wouldn't be the only trophy we got down here, because I got another one for destroying 10 mannequins. The rest of the mission was a breeze. We killed a few small villages worth of people and took out their defenses for a successful mission. Up next was Operation Gladius, where we started off in these water tank things, trying to storm the beach up ahead, but before we get to that, I got a trophy for destroying 3 floating mines. We get to land and engage in some epic tank battles until we have to exit, where I got a headshot kill, making that my 50th for a trophy. Shortly after, I got another for destroying 10 enemy vehicles. Eventually, we make it to this perch, where we get to spy on the enemy base, but unfortunately, they've captured one of our guys. So we make up a plan to go save him, but while we're too busy yapping, the bad guy gets bored and just executes him. Upon rushing the base, we make it to the main office where we expect the bad guy to be, but we only find some papers, so we just extract, ending the mission and popping the trophy. The next mission is called Night Raid, where you have to creep through the back alleys of Egypt, killing soldiers like a modern-day Jack the Ripper. Once you reach the compound, you have to cut the lights, and this is where the mission goes to shit, because everyone just started blasting.
I started blasting. Bang!
But I eventually made it to this room where I picked up my 10th dog tag for the trophy. Me and the boys breach this door Call of Duty style and find our informant who isn't looking so good, but I think he disagrees. The informant kicks the bucket and no one's shedding a tear, so I cut off his thumb and no, not for fun, he has some sort of RFID chip in his thumb, which we need. The mission ends just how you would expect it to, with a lot of shooting, then using an RPG to shoot down a chopper, and then I finished the mission with 2 trophies, firstly for obviously finishing the mission, and another for completing the mission only using the pistol. Moving on, we started the next mission called No Sleep, where we had to assault the PAX base, which is somewhere in like suburban New York. Personally, I would have picked a better spot. I begin clearing out these apartment buildings with my sledgehammer and bonked 5 of them for the trophy. We find Kincaid's planning room and have a nice little FaceTime call with him, where he says some very ominous and menacing things, then proceeding to hang up on me like a teenage girl. So I bet you can guess where the mission's going now, because Battlefield is as predictable as a Twitch streamer having an OnlyFans. We do some shooting, board this chopper, and of course crash it into a bridge, where we have to stop a missile strike, which we do semi-successfully, because a few of them still launch, but that's the least of our concern, because the mission collapses and I'm now swimming with the fishies. However, we are obviously saved and that's the end of the mission. The following mission is called Moving Mountains, which is part 2 continuing from the previous chapter, and it's revealed that the real target was actually the president, which means Kincaid just blew up a New York block for fun, I guess. Starting off, I get a quick trophy for landing 6 consecutive headshots. Once we cleared out the streets, we entered the fire station where the president was held up with his guards. He orders us to clear the rooftop so a plane can land, but we get swarmed by Elon Musk's AI drones, and so now our plan's FUBAR. We regroup and come up with the bright idea to just kill the drone operators, who are hiding somewhere in a park, where I actually missed one collectible in the construction area, so that meant I had to replay this mission later. We did end up finding the drone pilots, who we murdered brutally, but they wouldn't be the only ones, as the rest of this mission is just shooting, up until we're surprised by Kincaid, who sucker punches me. However, Carter gets the drop on him and kills him. Just kidding. Carter gets distracted and Kincaid stabs him, then proceeding to monologue for quite a while, until he stabs Carter again, finishing the kill and ending the mission with the trophy. Let's continue with the next chapter, which is called Nile Guard, where we start off in a tank and I blow up an overpass like your mum blowing out your dad's back, hopping the trophy. Moving on, we got to do some manly tank shooting that made me feel like Brad Pitt in the movie Fury, up until we had to leave, but it wasn't all that bad as I got a trophy for collecting 20 dog tags. I then unloaded a criminal amount of bullets into these poor soldiers, then watched a cutscene and ended the level with a trophy. So the next place we would get to violate some criminals was in Tajikistan. But is that even a real place? Like, where is that even on a map? This mission is an open world sort of thing, where you have to go to 3 different places and destroy the data links, and while doing that I use my drone to spot 20 enemies, rewarding me with a trophy. I eventually destroyed all the data links, but the network wasn't going down like I thought it would. The team comes up with the bright idea to blow up the dam, which we do, but I don't think they thought about the 12 villages and 2 hospitals full of children the dam would wash away. But anyways, I finished that level with a trophy. Now, for the final mission, I unfortunately lost the recording file. But don't worry, because I'll paint you a picture so nice you'll believe you were actually there. So here's what happened. Murphy finds Kincaid, and in a sudden turn of events, Hemlock shoots him. The end. However, I did get 2 trophies during that mission. Firstly, for shooting down the chopper full of reinforcements with a tank, and another for simply beating the campaign. But I wasn't done just yet, because I had to clean up 2 trophies I missed, so I went back to pick up the 1 collectible I missed to get the trophy for obtaining all collectibles. Then my final trophy was for completing a mission on hardcore, and then I finally popped the platinum trophy.